Melaख़im Bet chapter 10. And Ahab had 70 sons in Shomeron, and Jehu wrote letters and sent to Shomeron to the rulers of Israel, to the elders, and to the guardians of Ahab, saying, And now, when this letter comes to you, since your master's sons are with you, and you have chariots and horses, and a walled city and weapons, choose the best and most upright of your master's sons, and set him on his father's throne, and fight for your master's house. And they were greatly afraid, and said, Look, 2 sovereigns have not stood before him. How do we stand, we? And he who was over the house, and he who was over the city, the elders also, and the guardians, sent to Jehu, saying, We are your servants, and all that you say to us we do. We do not set up anyone to reign. Do what is good in your eyes. And he wrote a second letter to them, saying, If you are for me, and if you obey my voice, take the heads of the men, your master's sons, and come to me at Yisrael by this time tomorrow. Now the sovereign's sons, 70 beings, were with the great men of the city, who brought them up. And it came to be, when the letter came to them, that they took the sovereign's sons, and slew them, 70 men, and put their heads in baskets, and sent them to him at Yisrael. Then a messenger came and informed him, saying, They have brought the heads of the sovereign's sons. And he said, Make them 2 heaps at the entrance of the gate until morning. And it came to be, in the morning, that he went out and stood, and said to all the people, You are righteous. Look, I conspired against my master, and killed him. But who struck all these? Now know that not one word of Yahweh which Yahweh spoke concerning the house of Ahab does fall to the ground. For Yahweh has done what he spoke by his servant Eliyahu. And Jehu struck all those left of the house of Ahab in Yisrael, and all his great men, and his friends, and his priests, until he left him without a survivor. And he rose up to go, and went to Shomeron. On the way at Beit Eked of the shepherds, Jehu met the brothers of Ahazyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, and said, Who are you? And they answered, We are brothers of Ahazyahu, and we have come down to greet the sons of the sovereign, and the sons of the sovereigness mother. And he said, Take them alive. So they took them alive, and slew them at the well of Beit Eked, 42 men, and he left none of them. And he left there, and met Jehonadav, son of Rechav, coming to meet him, and blessed him, and said to him, Is your heart right, as my heart is toward your heart? And Jehonadav answered, It is. Jehu said, If it is, give me your hand. And he gave him his hand, and he took him up to him into the chariot. And he said, Come with me and see my ardor for Yahweh. And they made him ride in his chariot. And he came to Shomeron, and struck all those left of Ahab in Shomeron, till he had destroyed them, according to the word of Yahweh which he spoke to Eliyahu. And Jehu gathered all the people, and said to them, Ahab served Baal a little, Jehu serves him much. And now call to me all the prophets of Baal, all his servants and all his priests. Let no one be missing, for I have a great slaughtering to make to Baal. Anyone who is lacking shall not live. But Jehu did this deceptively, in order to destroy the servants of Baal. And Jehu said, Set apart an assembly for Baal. So they proclaimed it. And Jehu sent throughout all Israel, and all the servants of Baal came, so that there was not a man left who did not come. And they came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was filled from end to end. And he said to him who was over the wardrobe, Bring out garments for all the servants of Baal. And he brought out garments for them. And Jehu and Jehonadav son of Rechav went into the house of Baal, and said to the servants of Baal, Search and see that no servants of Yahweh are here with you, but only the servants of Baal. So they went in to make slaughterings and ascending offerings. Now Jehu had appointed for himself 80 men on the outside, and had said, The man who lets escape any of the men whom I have brought into your hands, his life for his life. And it came to be, when he had finished making the ascending offering, Jehu said to the guard and to the officers, Go in, strike them, let no one come out. And they struck them with the edge of the sword, and the guards and the officers threw them out, and went into the inner room of the house of Baal, and brought out the pillars of the house of Baal, and burned them, and broke down the statue of Baal, and broke down the house of Baal, and made it a latrine to this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel. However, Jehu did not turn away from the sins of Yarovam, son of Nevat, who had made Israel sin, from the golden calves that were at Beit El and Dan. And Yahweh said to Jehu, Because you have done well by doing what is right in my eyes, and have done to the house of Ahab all that was in my heart, Your sons are going to sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation. But Jehu did not guard to walk in the Torah of Yahweh Elohim of Israel with all his heart, for he did not turn away from the sins of Yarovam, who had made Israel sin. In those days Yahweh began to cut off some in Israel, and Hazael struck them throughout all the border of Israel, from the Yarden to the sun rising, all the land of Gilad, the Gadites, and the Reuvenites, and the Menashehites, from Aru'er, which is by the Wadi Arnon, including Gilad and Bashan. And the rest of the acts of Jehu, and all that he did, and all his might, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Israel? So Jehu slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Shomeron. And Jehoahaz his son reigned in his place. And the days that Jehu reigned over Israel in Shomeron were 28 years.